Get down on it, burn, 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 get down on it. Hey man, what's up, dog? We're gonna talk a little hoops today. Yeah, nice little big baby and not friends, just the Big Babies podcast. We're gonna talk hoops. Back up, Gucci. Sorry, my dog is over here by my microphone. Let me see this bone. I'll tell you what, man. This is why I don't like to record with him in here because he wants to have the darn bone down over here by the microphone. It's like, dude, you can't chew on the bone over here because you're making noise and that's going to turn people off. But we got a good episode for y'all today. I think it's going to be a great one. We're going to talk about LeBron James versus the Lakers. We're going to talk about when player empowerment goes wrong. Joel and James looking good. Oak on Giannis, DeMar for MVP. Maybe the narrative on Steph being wrong. And oh my goodness, I forgot to put my Brooklyn topic because we're definitely going to hit what's going on in Brooklyn. Hello, Brooklyn. How you doing? But anyways, hey, it's the big baby, and I'm back.
Hold up, big baby. Hold up, big baby.
And I'm back. All right, so anyways, yeah, we balling and hold up, all of that good stuff. Let's talk a little basketball, man. Let's talk about LeBron James versus the Lakers. Let's talk about the clash of the Titans. You know, the Lakers are a bad basketball team right now. And honestly, I don't know if I should even be talking about them on the podcast because they're so bad, but I think they got so much to talk about. You know, you look at the roster, you look at the front office, you look at the team, you look at the coach, the record, the injuries. There's so many different things you can talk about. Do they blow it up? Do they trade LeBron? Does LeBron leave? You know, so much that they're giving us. So I'm just going to hop on the gravy train and get me a little bite of this Laker action too, if you don't mind. All right, man. Look, the Lakers. I'm on the wrong page. The Lakers versus LeBron. It is truly a clash of the Titans. Why? Because LeBron is the biggest brand in basketball, and LeBron has been successful everywhere he goes. Insert LeBron, insert success, right? Now, the Lakers are arguably the most successful brand in NBA as well as far as the team goes, especially the biggest brand. And over the span of the NBA's history, the Lakers have won, you know, a bunch of championships. I think 17, 18, something like that. Don't feel like looking it up to do the math. Some people don't like to count the Minneapolis championship, but hey, they're the Lakers, right? So, but the problem with the Lakers is, unlike LeBron, I think the Lakers are a poorly run franchise. They've been covered up by Jerry West, Pat Riley, and Tinseltown. You understand? Jerry West in his playing days and his days as an executive, Pat Riley in his days coaching the Lakers. And then you have LA. People want to come to LA. And because of the success of Jerry West, the success of Pat Riley and Showtime, the success of Jerry West, the executive with Kobe and Shaq, and then Kobe and Powell, even though he wasn't there, he traded Powell to the Lakers. You know, I think that there is this idea that the Lakers are this great run franchise. No, you're just highly successful. You know, sometimes how you have that trust fund kid who becomes extremely successful, but it's not because he or she did good business. It's that he or she just had access to resources and they did great things. If you look at the Clippers, there's nothing tangible to show it. But the Clippers are a much better ran franchise right now than the Los Angeles Lakers. If you look at the Lakers, you know, post Kobe, what have they been? Nothing until LeBron got there. I mean, hell, at the end of Kobe, what were they? Nothing. You know, they overpaid Kobe at the end of his deal. I get it. I would have done the same thing too. Why? Because Kobe had done so much for the franchise, and it also shows older players that, hey, if you're a Laker, we'll take care of you. But you know, there's this LeBron versus the Lakers thing, you have to look at it, and both brands have to understand what's at stake here, because honestly, neither of them needed each other. You know, because LeBron and Clutch have been a much better track record than the Lakers over the last decade. They have 4 rings to the Lakers 1, and that 1 ring was a LeBron ring. And if you look at their track record over LeBron's career, 4 championships to 3 championships. And again, one of those is shared. But the Lakers are a mom and pop organization with an overinflated sense of self-worth because of their past successes. They're an incestual team. And I say that to mean that they always got to have a Laker guy. They bring in Magic Johnson. Oh, yeah, he's a great Laker. He's going to run this team. No, he's not. He's going to leave. They get Rob Pelinka. Rob Pelinka, oh, that's Kobe's agent, so he's going to be a great GM. Maybe. He's made some good trades. He's made some decent signings, but I'm not sure how much of that's him or if that's LeBron and Clutch. And then you have the Rambis family who, for some odd reason, have an extreme amount of influence over what happens there, but nothing in their track record says they deserve to run anybody's franchise. And I don't think that any other franchise would allow the Rambis family or the Rambi, as the NBA media calls them, to run their team. But guess what? LA has a big brand. They're LA. They get stars. And guess what? Usually when stars come there, they need LA to elevate them, right? But LeBron is a different type of star because the city of LA, yes, LeBron definitely, benefited by the city of LA. But the Lakers itself, LeBron didn't need that brand. Sure, it's helped, but LeBron is just as big as the Lakers. And that's why, like most players, they come to the Lakers to, get over that hump, to really solidify themselves, like an Anthony Davis type, like Shaq when he came there. Kobe got drafted there, but LeBron didn't have to do that. So he's not going to be embraced by Laker Nation because LeBron says, man, I'm bigger than the Lakers. I'm as big as the Lakers. I don't need y'all. Y'all are a mom and pop shop. If we're being real, if we look at how the Lakers have been ran, man, they don't even deserve the city of LA. The Lakers organization does not deserve the city of LA because the city of LA masks all of the problems that the Lakers have as a franchise. If you relegated them to OKC or Indiana or hell, Lakers South, the Pelicans, you'd really see how terribly run this group is running this team. And this team does not deserve one of the best cities in America, probably the best city in America for superstars. Because guess what? Every time they mess it up, there's just going to be another superstar who's going to want to elevate their brand and come to the Los Angeles Lakers. And then it goes, oh, man, look at the Lakers, man. They're doing it again. Well, yeah, they are. But who gives a damn? And now you want to get in bed with LeBron, somebody who, hey, it's the LeBron way or no way. And that's what it's been. And guess what? It works until it doesn't. He's going to carry you. He's going to get you championships. He's going to make you super, super relevant. And not to say that the Lakers weren't ever relevant, but I remember the D'Angelo and Swaggy P years, okay? They weren't the same kind of Lakers that they are today or they were yesterday. Why are we talking about the Lakers? They're not a good team right now. They are terrible. We got DeAndre Jordan throwing the ball to the 10th row. But they're still opening up damn near every sports show. LeBron. But when you get in bed with LeBron, you have to know what's going to come with that. And you're going to get pushback. He's going to hold your feet to the fire. And sometimes he's going to make bad decisions. Yeah. Wanting Russell Westbrook today, awful. It's not working. But for the Lakers to be like, you wanted Russell, so you got to live with it. Excuse me? Are we in the business of pointing fingers? Or are we in the business of winning games? Are we in the business of winning championships? Get off of the liability and try to bring in an asset. If you think John Wall makes your team better and you got a draft pick that you got to attach along with it, attach a draft pick. Now, and this is me in the short. Maybe it comes to fruition at the end of the season this year, and the Lakers say, hey, you know what? AD's been hurt. LeBron's been, this Russell Westbrook thing's not working, so we're going to go make a move this summer on the next disgruntled superstar because there's going to be one. And maybe holding on to that 2027 draft pick and that 2029 draft pick that they couldn't trade at the trade deadline, but they'll be able to trade in the offseason will get them the asset that they want. Maybe. But the idea that the Lakers are sitting here valuing draft picks, it's like, no, bro, y'all don't build through the draft. You don't cultivate talent. The last time you tried to build and cultivate talent, you had Lonzo, you had B.I., you had Kuz, you had Julius Randle, and those guys are gone. All of them are gone. But guess what you got for it? You sold your soul for a championship, and that's what LA does. They sell their soul for championships. That's what happens to people when they go to LA. They sell their soul for stardom. It was so funny to see on the opening of Bel Air when you got Jazz talking to Will, and he's like, "Hey, don't lose yourself in this city," because that's what happens when you go to LA. You sell your soul for a championship, and that's what the Lakers have done. They say, well, they don't really have a soul. They just, they just wait for the next. They just wait for the next commodity to come in, and they capitalize off of it. But I hear all this talk about the Lakers should rebuild. I guess maybe I don't know. I was saying you don't trade AD, you try to get rid of Russell, and you just build around that. LeBron and AD, it's worked before. Can it work again? But increasingly, AD is more injured, and LeBron is more old. So do you move LeBron? I mean, I feel like you can get a king's ransom for it, and you can get a jack's ransom for AD because he's still highly talented. He's just injury prone. So if you do that, do you really have the infrastructure? Do you have the patience to go back to the D-Lo years, the Swaggy P years? If you want to go back to the Swaggy P years, yeah, ship all your talent out, But when you got LeBron on your team, when you got Anthony Davis and LeBron on your team and they're healthy, man, you're just one playoff run away from another championship. So maybe the poorly run Lakers will, move LeBron, which I think that's bad optics. Y'all take care of superstars. Trading LeBron, who doesn't have a no trade clause, would be awful. And just know that you would never, ever get a discount from Clutch. Probably never get a Clutch client again. And I don't know if the NBA the Lakers, the biggest brand in the NBA, is willing to sever a relationship with Clutch Sports. But knowing the Buss family and the Ramby, it's all about what they want. And, it's like, hey, we want our team back. And it goes back to what happened in Cleveland. Their front office wanted their team back because they were tired of Clutch running the show. Well, I guess they were tired of winning championships, and now they're Cleveland. Yeah, I know they're spunky, but do we really believe a core of Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen's going to win a championship? I don't. I sure don't. But LeBron is responsible for the player empowerment movement. And sometimes it goes wrong. I mean, hell, we can look at what's happening in LA right now. The move to go for Russell Westbrook instead of bringing in Buddy Hield. Player empowerment goes wrong. But I want to look at New Orleans right now, where I think player empowerment is going as wrong as it could ever go. Because Zion Williamson is trying to strong arm the New Orleans Pelicans after only being available one time in one season for his 3-year career. Okay. I think that Zion is a great player, a really good player, but he didn't want to go to New Orleans. He was hoping to go to New York. He's even, he waxed poetically about going to New York before the lottery. And even after playing in MSG, he was like, oh yeah, playing in the Garden, much better than playing in Smoothie King. He didn't say that, but that kind of gave you the sentiment that he already had wandering eyes. And in NBA circles, people have discussed Zion not signing not taking the max extension and then just signing a qualifying offer, which I think would just be a terrible idea. Like, dude, you're injury prone. You're highly productive when you're available, but you're hardly available. Take the max extension and then force your way out. Duh. But who knows? His camp's pretty private, and we don't know. But here's where I say where player empowerment goes wrong, man. It's just a bad look for him. It's a bad look for the league. I mean, it's one thing when we see players who have established themselves in a franchise and are struggling, and they just want to get out of there. Or even with the James Harden piece, a lot of people didn't like it, the way he forces his way out of Houston. I didn't like it initially, but I get it now. And the way he did himself in Brooklyn, a lot of people didn't like that. But I say, look, man, I didn't sign up for part-time Kyrie. I signed up to come up here and win a ring, and Kyrie is not making himself available for the team. I'm going to leave anyway, so get me out of here now so you can get something for me. I get it. But James Harden has some stock in the game. You know, he's an MVP. He's a all NBA guy, perennial all NBA guy. You know, Zion one good season out of 3, and he's been hurt. But I really think he's out here trying to pull the Ben Simmons. I think he's trying to take his injury and use it and stretch it out in order to create leverage to get him up out of there. I think he's trying to upset the front office. I mean, for God's sake, he's rehabbing at Nike up in Oregon. Are you serious, dude? Why are you not working out with the team? Why are you not around here? I get it. You may not want to just solely rely on the team doctors. That's fine. Bring in your own doctors. I'm sure you can afford to have those doctors come down to New Orleans. We got Zoom and all of this stuff. You can fly up to see him when you need to, but to be totally away from the team, to be totally distant, to not initially reach out to CJ McCollum when he first gets there? Come on, man. What are you doing? What have you done in this league to think that you can carry yourself that way? You know, everybody gets blinded by the nice smile when he's out there on the court, but maybe that's why the team did not reach the heights that we thought it could have reached last year. Maybe that's why Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies were able to get to the playoffs as a young up-and-coming team last year and then take that next step this year, because they like to play together. They play with smiles. There was an obvious friction between Zion and Brandon Ingram last year. And then when you have the J.J. Redick comment saying that, hey, he's a distant teammate. I talked to him about this while I was down there. You go, oh, well, shit. Maybe this is why the team wasn't succeeding. Maybe I'm mad at Stan Van for no reason. Probably not. But maybe because Zion's not investing into the team, he's only invested into himself, that, you know, he's not going to see the team success that you would like for him to see. Maybe he goes somewhere else and you see it. But look, if I'm David Griffin, I'm not backing down from you. I'm going to play hardball. You're not going to strong arm me. Especially at this point. I got you for what, 5 years? You get your qualifying offer, baby. I'm going to match it. And then we can try to get you up out of here from there. But I'm sending you to the highest bidder. And if the highest bidder is the OKC Thunder and all the draft picks that they have, guess where you're going? Oklahoma City. Why would I do you a favor? What have you done for me? Hell, with your injuries, you're already tanking your stock. You're not even giving me the best opportunity to move you. And then you're distant. It's like, so how is he going to fit into the locker room? I don't know. We gotta shave off a draft pick now, like, because this might not work for us. Oh, he's hurt. He might be hurt again. But I'll be damned if I get strong-armed by a third-year player who's played as many games as Greg Oden did in his first 3 years. You know, some people want to say, well, Joel Embiid did the same thing in his first 3 years as far as being out. Yeah, Joel Embiid was a part of the process. Joel Embiid was invested in the team. And guess what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to look at Joel Embiid as the template moving forward. I'm going to look at Joel Embiid as an outlier that worked and is working right now. But I think this is all going to just blow up in Zion's face, and he may end up on a worse team and a worse market until he can finally hit true free agency. And maybe Zion is just a bust. Maybe he's a highly talented bust, but maybe he's not going to be able to overcome the injuries. I don't know, but it looks like he's really trying to pull the Ben Simmons, use the injury, use the ailment in order to piss the team off so they can just finally just give him what he wants. He hasn't came out and said what he wants. He's not going to come out and say what he wants. But he's telling us what he wants right now. Speaking of Ben Simmons, man, hello, Brooklyn. What's going on in Brooklyn? So reports are coming out that Ben Simmons had a setback because of some back tightness and stuff. There's speculation that he's not going to be available for the October 10th game against Philly. He himself maybe, or the team doesn't want to put him in that situation. I'm okay with it. People say, oh, you got to compete. You got to get out there. Like, what's going to happen in the playoffs? You got to face that Philly crowd before that? Maybe. Or maybe you got somebody who just left a toxic situation for him, somebody whose confidence was ripped to its core while he was there. Why would you throw him in that environment while he's trying to build his confidence back up? You can't come out and say, hey, we don't want to play Ben in Philly because his confidence isn't where it needs to be. But I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Clutch gave Nick Wright some information saying, hey, we don't want to put him on a minutes restriction. So we're going to ramp him up. So when he's ready to go, he's going to be ready to go full speed. Sometimes we lose sight of the forest for the trees, Sometimes we get so caught up on winning battles that we forget about the war. And the ultimate war for the Brooklyn Nets is to win a championship. And in order for them to win a championship this season, Ben Simmons has to be at his absolute best. And call me crazy, but I don't think Ben Simmons will be at his absolute best if you put him out there in the fire when he's not ready to play. And you get his confidence shaken, and then he's skeptical, he's tentative, he's not playing basketball the way that you need him to play. Now, the requirement's going to be different. I was going to say it's looking like Kyrie's going to be able to play, but I'll tell you what, man, New York, y'all are too liberal for me. So March 7th, they're going to lift the vaccine mandate, but it's not going to apply to employees. And then you got the mayor coming out and saying that I can't change the rule for one specific person. Well, don't change it for one specific person. Change it for everybody. I mean, because this is obviously just optics. And a visiting player can come in and play a game at Barclays or the Garden, but a home player who's not been vaccinated can't play? That's nuts. That makes absolutely no sense. Oh, after this March 7th, Kyrie can come to the game as a spectator, but he can't play? So he can sit, like right behind the bench as a spectator and still be just as much of a COVID risk as he would be if he was on the court. That's okay. Excuse me? And this is why people just lose confidence in so many of our institutions. This is why so many people don't trust the government at times, because you have these stupid laws that make no sense. It would be different if you was just a nationwide, or a citywide ban against those who are unvaccinated. But you got these weird little rules that just make no sense. So if you are unvaccinated, you can do this here. All right, but you can go to the same place. If you're vaccinated, you can do everything here. But if you're not, you can come here. You just can't participate. I didn't know that COVID had a mind like that to know that, it won't attack the people sitting down, so they're good. They don't have to be vaxxed, but it'll go after the people who are on the court playing, man. New York, Eric Adams, get the hell out of here, man. This is just nonsense. But, this is what happens when you get in bed with Kyrie Irving. You sign yourself up for some unpredictability. He's not one who's going to just follow the status quo. He's his own man. And I respect him for that, even if I disagree with it. And I'm tired of people coming after KD for hitching his wagon to Kyrie Irving. It's just so annoying, okay? He didn't hitch his wagon to Kyrie Irving. He wanted to be in New York. How can you leave Stephen Curry? That's one of the most selfless superstars in the league. How do you leave the Warriors infrastructure? Because I'm tired of being there and I don't want to play there anymore. I want to go play elsewhere, and I'm confident enough in myself and my abilities that I can bring a championship with the proper pieces around me in a city that I'd rather live in. Where would you rather live, San Francisco or Brooklyn? Give me Brooklyn for 500 right now, Aaron. You understand what I'm saying? So sure, maybe the basketball fits better in Golden State. Maybe the team's better in Golden State. Maybe he wins more rings if he stays in Golden State. But what about quality of life? What about living where you want to live and being around the people you want to be around? LeBron talks about being more than an athlete. Well, guess what? Part of being more than an athlete is doing things outside of athletics. And guess what Brooklyn provides for him? It takes him to home base where his manager is at. It takes him to home base where Rock Nation is at. And there's a lot more moves that he can make to continue to build his empire in New York, that's not as easy for him to build while he's in the Bay. Yeah, he got to learn the tech game out there, and he's capitalized off of it based on what he said. I'm not in his pockets. But the same way that LeBron chose LA for quality of life and basketball, Kevin Durant did the same thing. And if you don't understand that and you can't respect that, then, your whole perspective is whack. But speaking of Steph Curry being the most selfless superstar, I really think a lot of the media, especially national media, has a narrative around Stephen Curry so wrong. They take him as this timid, really good basketball player, laid back, happy-go-lucky guy. But I think it's just because of his appearance. He's smaller than most of your NBA stars. He's light-skinned. He has the family. He has the daughters and all of that stuff, right? And you just look at his family and you go, oh, my gosh, this is so beautiful. He's such a nice guy. But Steph is a dog. Like, that shimmy and stuff when he's making threes, that's something. That would piss me off. And then, just look at the All-Star game. If you listen to the mic'd up stuff, he was asking, he was like, hey, man, I'm trying to go. What's the points record? Yeah, he thinks about that stuff. He has an ego. He talked about going to talk to Kevin Durant. Excuse me, he didn't talk about it. Who was it? I was listening to a guy on The Ringer. Logan Murdoch was talking about it. And he was like, I want to go holler at KD. I didn't go to beg him to stay here. I respect him and I want him on the team. Don't get it twisted. But I'm confident in what we're doing here. I'm confident in me. I'm still him. Unanimous MVP. Stephen Curry, the light-skinned assassin. Babyface assassin, you know what I mean? A real killer. Pulling up from half court and turning around in the All-Star game. You got to understand, to have that type of confidence in yourself, you got to be the doggiest of the dogs. So this crazy narrative that Steph is just this super nice guy, I'm sure he is a nice guy. But don't think that he doesn't hear what people say. Don't think that he's not as sensitive as other NBA players. Don't think he's not as passionate and aggressive and mean and nasty as other NBA players. He just expresses it differently because he doesn't dunk and yell. He shoots and shimmies. But, people are obviously predisposed to feel the way that they're going to feel based on the things that they see or based on what they want to see and the images that they want to, push on. Critical race theory, man. Joel and James are looking real good. I don't know if there's much else to say about that, but they look really good. They look really happy. James is doing like he was when he first got to Brooklyn, getting everybody involved, playing a little bit more defense than normal. He had 5 steals last game with 29, 10, and 16, a triple-double. Already made more threes than Ben Simmons in his whole Philly career. That's not saying much. We falling, big baby. But James is looking good. Joel is looking good. They're saying all the right things. Joel talked about, I've never been this open before. Well, yeah, no, you haven't played with a superstar of this magnitude before. Granted, they beat up on Minnesota, and Joel owns Cat. He got a condo in Cat's head. He just pulls up whenever he needs to. And then they beat the sorry Knicks. But I like it. I really like it. I'm looking forward to seeing how this grows, and I'm ready to see what's going to happen in the playoffs. But I think for those who are skeptical, I get it. I was listening to Chris Mannix and Colin Cowherd talk about this earlier today. And they were talking about Mannix was talking about, well, it worked early in Brooklyn, but I don't know, what about next year when he gets comfortable? You got to remember, the dynamic changed this year in Brooklyn. With Kyrie being unvaccinated and not being able to play in home games and not playing the top end of the season at all, you have a different approach. You're going to do different things, but while the good is good, you're going to play well. It's the reason why the three of them looked good together in the few games that they got to play in last year. So I'm excited. I think it's going to work. I think it's going to work well because they pose something that not many teams in the East can compete with. I think that Miami has a chance to, give them a run for their money just because they have Bam, who's a good interior defender. They're going to play good interior defense. Jimmy Butler can give James Harden some fits along with PJ Tucker. They can just mix up that matchup. And I trust Jimmy Butler more in the playoffs than I do James Harden and Joel Embiid just off of track record. But we'll see. We'll see. The jury's still out. Just keep watching. Let's enjoy it, man. We're having a great NBA season so far. I'm just happy that I can turn on League Pass and damn near every team is watchable. There's hardly a night that there's not a game that's watchable, man. I'm sitting here watching Memphis and the Spurs. Memphis is up 13 with about 9 minutes left, and Ja's not on the court, and it's still good basketball, man. This is great. The NBA is in a great place, And I didn't even put this at the topic, but expansion, man. I'm hearing the NBA is talking about expansion. I'd love to see the NBA add Vegas and Seattle, and then you just move New Orleans and Memphis to the Eastern Conference, add a little bit more spice there. And look, the players are going to come to Vegas. It may take a few years to get them there, but the players are going to come to Vegas. And I think that the league should do this. There's more and more talent. We saw with the COVID stuff that there's a lot more capable NBA players than we thought. And then look at superstars that we have missing, man. We got Kawhi Leonard out. We got Paul George out. We got Ben Simmons still out. We have Zion Williamson out. So these are mega players, real stars who aren't playing right now. And their teams aren't terrible without them. So that lets you know just the depth of the league, and there's just room for more stars, So, hey, I typically don't like expansion, but in this case, I think it's going to work. And I think it'll be a great look for the league, get some new blood in there, new ownership, and see how that goes, But Charles Oakley was talking crazy today out the side of his mouth. And that's the one thing that gets me about like the older generation of the NBA. A lot of them don't pay homage to the guys who are doing it now. They don't give them their proper due because they always want to go, well, back in my day, we used to, whew. Yeah, okay, I believe it. In today's game, I don't know if you matter as much as you did back then. But here's what he said on Giannis. He wouldn't have been a force back in the day. He wouldn't be doing a Euro step to the basket. Somebody's going to knock his head off. He'd come off the bench back in the day. Come off whose bench? Come off with the bench where? Giannis is still a 7-foot monster. Yeah, he's not as bulky as the big men back then, but he got go gadget arms. You put him on the block, boom, turn around, slam on you. Oh, he's on the perimeter. Who gonna guard him? The big man? Get off me. I'm gonna foul him out. He can't shoot free throws. It'll be fine. He'll figure it out. But the idea that a top 75 player, a 2-time MVP, a finals MVP, is going to come off the bench, arguably the best player in the league right now, coming off the bench back in your day, Oak, shut up. That's crazy talk. I know you want to hold on to the good old days. I know you want to hold on to the times when you were great and the way the league used to be. And don't get me wrong, I think too many bad three-point shooters are shooting threes in the NBA right now. But to act like that Giannis couldn't survive in your NBA, Charles Oakley, you are absolutely crazy. I mean, Charles Oakley, you struggle to survive in today's NBA, and you talking about Giannis coming off the bench. You must be out of your damn mind, Oak. Hey, somebody's got to take the liquor bottle from him. What would I say? Put the bottle down? Yeah, please put the bottle down if you really think that Giannis will come off the bench in your NBA. In your NBA. Charles Oakley's NBA. Yeah. I'll tell you what, man. Look here. When you get old, don't become old and dumb. Don't hold on to the good times, man. Just properly contextualize what's going on and, accept that things get better with time. Not much gets worse. I mean, better shot making, better scoring, better teams, more depth. People are faster, stronger, playing longer. But somehow it was better back then. NBA, NFL is just like wine. It gets better with time. The only league that's, like milk is MLB. They ain't even playing. Last piece. DeMar for MVP, maybe? Does DeMar DeRozan have a serious case for MVP? I mean, he's definitely playing like a top 5 player, first team All-NBA guy. He's averaging 28, 5 and 5. He's having his best season of his career at the age of 32. Definitely shocking. The Bulls are a 2 seed right now, even though they just got thraxed by Miami. But they're 39 and 22. Last year, their record was 31 and 41. Less games, but still, they've already eclipsed their win total from last year by 8. They add Lonzo Ball, who's been out. They add Alex Caruso, who's been out. But DeMar DeRozan has been the biggest difference. He's gotten better, like I said, since he got to Chicago. I think that because of his name, he's not going to get the true respect as an MVP candidate. But when you think about MVP, you think about value to a team, right? Added value. This is a team that was in the lottery, and now they're a 2 seed. And what's the difference? DeMar DeRozan. So if you look at the relative value that he added, yes, players progress and they get better. But if you look at the value that he adds, I'm not so sure he's not the MVP. Yeah, we want to talk about Nikola Jokic because of his numbers. We want to talk about Joel Embiid because of his numbers. Yes, their numbers are great. They're having great seasons. Giannis is having another great season. He's not going to win MVP just because of Giannis fatigue. But, bruh, if you're trying to add something new, this man brought Chicago back. Chicago ain't been this hot since Derrick Rose. Now, do I think Chicago can win a championship this year? No, but I didn't think they could when they had Derrick Rose. But the MVP is a regular season award. And I'm not saying DeMar DeRozan is the best player in the league, but I say that DeMar DeRozan is adding more value to his team than any other player right now this season. He's a top 5 player, so it's not like he should be first team All-NBA. So by that metric, he was an all-star starter, and he's playing lights out, 28, 5 and 5. His team goes from 31 wins last year to they're already at 39 wins, and the season's not over. That's the MVP. If they finish at the top 3 seed in the East, DeMar DeRozan